All right, well, welcome to our guest, Dominique Henderson. This is going to be a fun one. I love kicking this series off. It's probably the best way to do so. For all those out there, this series, Black CFP series, because I'm great at marketing, is going to be brought to you by Black Mammoth, and it's going to be designed around highlighting Black CFPs, attacking our industry, and then seeing how we all can come together and really help. Now, obviously, we are Black CFPs. We're going to be talking about the Black community a lot, but this goes for minorities and really any community. We're just going to highlight the one that, it's the color of our skin is who we are. So welcome, brother. How you doing?
I am doing well, Stoy. Thank you for having me, man. I love what you guys are doing. I had the chance to do my research on you guys, and I like what you're doing, bringing the Midwest family office feel there. So Drake relays is a common thing with us track and field folk. That was way back in the day. That's a whole other story. But good to see the work that you guys are doing, and I'm happy to be on here talking with you today.
Appreciate that. And as always, the Drake relays had some rain, chilly weather, and then one bright day. So, I mean, it was a traditional Drake relay.
Common Drake relays.
Right, for sure. Well, why don't we jump into your journey? Take us through your journey of where you started and how you are where you are, and then highlight that with what you just accomplished and highlighted yesterday before your golf round or earlier this week.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So just in case this will be recorded, I am going to be looking at some notes. There's a couple of lessons I want to make sure that I share with your audience, just because I think the platform for podcast is a special one and a sacred one when you take time and energy and finances to take a pocket of the world and blast that out. So I like to make sure that we're utilizing that. So I am the oldest of three military kids, and we got the opportunity to bounce around a lot. And the reason why I highlight that, I think it dovetails into this first lesson, which is how you start isn't as important as just starting. So I had a very non-traditional background, and I think it's kind of key for me to say this because as a Black CFP, there are a lot of things culturally, I think, messages that have been portrayed to me or spoken to me over the years, and we can unpack some of those. But I think what the military gave me in an experience is that every 2 or 3 years, I was forced to find another set of friends. And so my perspective was a little bit different when it came to, some of the things that are highlighted in our culture today. And I think that allowed me to be adaptable, allowed me to have this sense of perseverance and diligence. I just couldn't kind of put out anything that I wanted to. My dad didn't have that type of standard for us. And so starting is a big deal for me, but I think a lot of people start to get wrapped around the axle, if you will, around the pedigree of how they start or what's on their resume. And I talk to so many career changers and aspiring financial professionals in what I do. And one thing I always told them is just get started. Like, just start somewhere. Like, start with your why and move from there. You'll be really surprised about, where that can take you. So my journey has been, I would say, non-traditional, but, maybe comparing it to some others, maybe not so much, but those were the kind of the beginnings of Dominique.
I love it. Hey, and that's having a military background, and we're actually doing another series for some veterans. Actually, we're filming on Monday, but it's a huge background, and not from the standpoint. Only standpoint I really love is the structure and the discipline. A lot of my leadership abilities come from that, studying military tactics in war and whatnot. And it's really the mindset behind it all. And really, like you said, you just start, just start it, steal it from the SEALs, embrace the suck, and just get through, right? Because when you do that, things do happen, like you had said. And I love following you and what you're doing with career changers and aspiring in the service area. In regards to that, though, specifically, what is the hardest thing that you have learned from these people in creating and changing into our industry? Yes, we assume that they're getting started, but what is that biggest hurdle?
Good question. probably ties well to a second lesson I want to give, which is failures aren't final. So I think there's a lot to say around this. There's probably been a lot of, idioms and whatnot created around this. But I think at the end of the day, when I look at my journey, so I started back in this industry in '98 when I graduated from Prairie View. I did 8 years at a hedge fund, did a couple years of real estate, not so successfully, because if you do the math, I stayed 8 years at the hedge fund, got out at '98, and 2006 is when I left. In 2007, we had the crisis. Before that, there were bubblings and rumblings around it. I ended up returning back to financial services, and I give that story because in a lot of aspects, I was a career changer, right? So back office hedge fund is way different than front facing, client relationship management and all that kind of stuff that I end up doing in the latter part of my career. And I think failing forward is this notion that sounds really nice, but it's really, really true and practical. I mean, you think about riding a bike, or even, I have 3 grown children now, but I still remember when we were teaching them how to walk, they were doing all this stuff. They were failing forward. And I think that's so key for people to understand, because, we do live in a social construct. A lot of it is facade. A lot of it is, I'm going to show you all this stuff. I'm going to show you, my bag and all this other kind of stuff. And you may not really actually have it together behind the scene, but it's this, Mike Todd, I like to follow him. He talks about being humble, open, and transparent. I think that's an aspect of our industry, and we'll get into this later, that I hope is coming out a lot more. Talking to career changers and aspiring financial professionals, what I always try to leave with them and make sure that they understand is, because you're coming into an industry that you don't know and you're not familiar, it's okay to kind of grind your way up, right? You don't have to necessarily have, the illustrious CFP behind your name or any of this other kind of stuff, because clients ultimately, when you just boil it all away, no matter how many certifications you have, clients just really want to know that you get them in their problem. That's what they want. And so communication, soft skills, empathy, active listening, all these things here are what allow the relationship to flourish. And I tell people, like, as a career changer, you have done this already. Like, if you're a mom or dad, you've done this already. It's right. A matter of really kind of code switching from that and painting it in financial advising, financial planning, financial coaching, right? So, they often look at these, and this is how failures aren't final. They often look at these spots in their life and like, I didn't do this well. I didn't pass the Series 65. I didn't pass the 66, la da 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 da. And I'm like, we can use all those failures to fail forward, right? And use that as part of our story and embrace that, like really owning your story to help you relate to clients better. So I think that's kind of how I view failure, and at least what I try to teach the career changers or aspiring financial professionals that I work with.
I love it. So your journey, is your journey over? You finished? Have you gone through your journey?
Absolutely, man. We got to keep on doing this journey. No, it's not over. I think if you're not waking up every morning very enthused about the next, 24 hours, whatever that you're given, that's a problem for me, right? I'm not going to like throw hands with you over it, but I am going to challenge you, right? I'm going to say, like, wow, you've been given another day to walk in your purpose, fulfill your life's destiny. Like, you got to embrace that. And it comes to maybe some of the stuff that Gary Vee has said, which is, if you don't love what you're doing right now and you're getting paid a load of money, like, does it really matter? I talk about this in my book. Is like, I was working for somebody, a pretty well-established RIA, doing what a lot of people aspire to and want to do. But then at the end of the day, me and my wife were having these conversations, and she was just like, you don't seem like you're happy. And I was like, I'm not. Like, right. And so I had to resolve that. And so, I hope having finished that part of my journey, I can now give away that part of me to others and help them find that. I often tell people, I was like, you can't give away what you don't have, right? So since I've walked through that, I can actually tell people, hey, I know what it's like to, leave a deep six figure job and be like, I'm finna go do something really scary, like while my kids are still teenagers and I got to pay for college and all this other kind of stuff. I know what that's like. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you still got to walk in what you're called to do.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a book. What book? What you talking about? Book?
Man, this has been a long time coming, man. The story behind this is the pandemic has affected everybody a little differently, but I think most of it has been negative in the sense that it has caused, well, let me paint that both ways. I think it's been negative and positive. I think it's been negative in the sense that people that have been afforded opportunities have seen, in some instances, they haven't made the most with that. And time is so precious. But on the flip side of that coin, people have said, oh, because time is so precious, I need to do more. And matter of fact, this job that I'm traveling to every day, risking my life by getting on the highways and stuff, I think I'm not going to do that anymore. And work from home has afforded me that. And now I'm going to look at some other options. So actually, I was having a lot of these conversations with not only clients inside of Jumpstart, but also clients inside of my wealth management firm, which kind of gave me like this aha moment, if you will, about, hey, there's some things that I know about perspective that I would love to share with people so that they can get unstuck. Because one of the things I think is super tragic is the fact that we can't restore time. Like, we can't get time back. And if you waste it, that's all you had. And so I want people to be able to have the tools to get unstuck, to feel that the dream that they once dreamed or the goal they once have, it could still be achievable. That's not to say they will, but let's try at it. Like, really, let's go for it, swing for the fences, see if we can do it, and hang it all out there. So Assess, Address, and Adjust is the name of the book, A Practical Guide to Becoming Unstuck and Achieving Your Goals. It is, we got it on pre-order right now, and it will be shipping May 19th, I believe. So really happy and excited about that.
How was the process of writing a book?
Grueling.
It has to be. I couldn't imagine. I've thought about it, but then I'm like, I got to sit down and write my thoughts. Can someone just get in my brain and kick it out, please?
Yeah, there's a lot of tools nowadays that help with the effort. I would imagine that, people like, some of the best-selling authors out there that we know of and that we've read, they had a much harder go at it. But I think community really helps with this, right? So I'm in a couple of masterminds, one of them that meets weekly, and my cohorts, my partners, they really pushed me to stay accountable to some of the things that I wanted to do. So that really helped. But in a word, it was grueling. It was like, okay, I'm going to write 2,000 words today. And at the end of it, it was like, okay, only 300 made to the final edit. It's like, there's a lot of work for what, but hopefully it will bless a lot of people and begins a movement where people can really walk in what they were called to do, what they were destined for. I strongly believe that everybody was put on this earth for a purpose. And sometimes you need a little help finding that. But once you do, man, the whole world opens up to you.
Absolutely. So Amazon pre-order shipping May 19th. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. We got a Kindle version. There's also, I'm doing a limited amount of signed copies through Dom Henderson SR / The Unstuck book. So people can look at that way also. But yeah, we'll have paperback and e-Kindle version. Since I have a podcast, I was told that I have to do an audio version at some point. So we'll see about that in the summer. We got a pretty full plate right now, but we will try to get that on the dockets for maybe Q3.
Absolutely. And everyone listening, we'll have the links to the book as well as his podcast and Jumpstart in the link on YouTube. So don't worry about that. We got you on that one. So now we've learned your journey and it's still going, but you've hit a milestone with the book and everything you're doing with the movement. What's your vision of this industry going forward?
Really good question. I think this is coalesced around a real simple phrase that I'll unpack in our conversation, which is this convergence between financial planning and financial coaching. It's really the traditional with the non-traditional. I came up in this industry with the professional, if you will, the provider of financial services, kind of in the ivory tower with their suit and tie, nothing around suit and ties, nothing even around, big mahogany desk and all this other kind of stuff. But I guess the aura of walking into that room was that the professional had all the advice and all the knowledge, and the person that was seeking, the consumer of financial services, if you will, they were in this position of, oh, lowly me, I've screwed up so badly. How can you help me in your infinite wisdom story? Right. And I just think that doesn't serve anybody. It obviously, if you want to look at other industries, it's caused tax planning, insurance, and things like that to get commoditized. And so I think in order to kind of avoid that for our profession, since the seat we sit in is so sacred, like that's something to get into, because I mean, to have somebody, what I call get financially naked in front of you, takes a lot of courage on their part, but also takes a lot of empathy if you do it the right way on our part. And so I would love to see a better melding of these two traditional versus non-traditional concepts, so that people really, really get the benefit of what I call real financial planning, relatable, empathetic, attentive listening. I think that this is what has the ability to change family trees. And everybody should get that opportunity. So that's kind of my short take on it.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly believe in the same exact thing. Coming from it from a family office standpoint, it's the same mindset. When someone gets naked in front of you like that, it's a lot of weight. It really is, emotionally for them. In financial planning, we have our weekly meetings with the team, and we go through plans and whatnot. And majority of what we're doing is coaching-esque. It is the behavior. It is the mental side. We call it money mindset. That's really the majority of what planning is, right? And having someone to listen to and in your court and deal with that, you're right. That is the only way, in my opinion, that going forward, this industry needs to shift to. Otherwise, it won't be the industry we know. It'll be something else. It'll be coaching, whatever. It won't be planning. It won't be advising, which is in a whole different topic. But I love that. I love that. So what is your steps and things that you're doing to address this vision and this purpose?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I think, to your point, just to kind of double click on that, I think because it was so austere, wound up tight, stuffy, that the pendulum has, at least in the 20 plus years I've been in the industry, I've seen it, swing all the way to the right, where it's like, too cavalier, and everybody's a money coach. And, right. I've got my 6-figure debt story. Let me go ahead and teach you what I know. I think some of that has to be corralled in, if you will. But I think is the happy medium, to be honest. I think there is a happy medium. There's, professionals like Sandra Davis, who has a whole certification, the financial fitness coach, which teaches a lot of that stuff. Obviously, the CFP board has upped the ante by incrementally increasing the amount of behavioral finance that they're testing for when it comes to conferring that designation, if you will. So there's a lot of people, people I haven't spoken of, Ted and Brad Klontz and Rick Kaler and George Kinder and all these people. So it's out there. I still don't think it's a popular way for professionals and practitioners to view this, because, to be really quite honest and maybe step on some toes, if you have not done the work, it's hard for you to be vulnerable with your clients.
Absolutely.
It is what it is. So, if you come to this industry fake, it will find you out. You might be able to sell a lot of insurance and a lot of annuities and a lot of other things really quickly and have a veneer of success, but eventually, clients find you out. So I think, having that authenticity part, that actually to be honest, kind of empowers your client to have real, not just buy-in, but like ownership over their situation, like true agency, which is what we want them to have. Because make no mistake about it, like we can have all the degrees and all the knowledge, but they can only set themselves free.
Right.
I mean, because it's the mindset, like you said. So this is what we're espousing, coaching, advising, consulting in Jumpstart. Like this is the way. And I often, tell people Jumpstart when they ask me to explain. I was like, all it is I'm showing people what I do in my RIA. Yeah, right. I deal with clients every day. I'm just teaching what I do in my RIA. So if, for the longest, I looked around the industry before I started Jumpstart, because I'm a big, belief in partnership. There's no point in reinventing the wheel if it's already been invented. Let's just improve on it. But I looked around the industry and I was like, okay, so if a person wanted to come into financial services, would they get what I got, or would they get something better? And I saw very few instances of better. Now, I know there are financial advisor programs out there and stuff like that, and nothing to poo-poo about them, but at the end of the day, they are in-house proprietary products that essentially that they're, kind of espousing, if you will, with quotas, with certain segments of the population that you can only service, And I was like, no, what about a 52-year-old engineer that wants an encore career, that just wants to help people back at his job because he has a love for personal finance? Like, how does he get into the industry? And I didn't see anything. And so I just kind of built what I call the Hello Fresh of financial services. Like, follow these 6 instructions, right, and you'll have a meal, right?
Yeah.
You still got to cook it, right? But at least you have to get the groceries, and at least they're in the increments and the measurements that you need in order to make it. Yeah. So.
Oh, I love that. The Hello Fresh. I love that. Well done there. You had talked about partnerships. My experience in this industry is there's not very many partnerships. We obviously, being a family office and doing a lot of private equity stuff with our real estate, our hedge fund, and some international stuff, have our own niche. We know what we're experts at. Our clientele base, I think the oldest we have is 1, and she's like 65. Everyone else is under 50. So we know where we're at. We know where we're at, business owners, etc. What I found difficult is across the nation, definitely locally, but across the nation, that firms don't want to work with each other. Like they'll pick each other's brains, don't get me wrong, but why wouldn't I come to you and be like, hey, this person doesn't fit, or I need help with this? Cool. Let's work with that client, right? Or whatever it may be. Why do you think we're not seeing those partnerships? And then speak to some of the partnerships that you have or that you're looking for.
Yeah. So I think, I like to watch a lot of nature. And I think about when a old lion is going off the scenes, there's 2 rivals that usually come in, or maybe a rival that comes in. And just because of the survival of the fittest mentality, they'll battle, and whoever gets wounded basically, dies off, and his young are killed.
Right.
I hate that our industry is like that. What that was birthed out of, obviously, there's been some, and George Kinder told me this story, the whole broker dealer back in the day deal was a movement. We had the transactional services there, and we had this whole movement that was really birthed in competition in trying to steal clients from one another. So that was the birth of the movement. And it's not that old. It's only about 60 years old. So in context, I don't know that we've even seen a model about like what working together looks like, right? We have these trade organizations like FPA and NAPFA and XYPN and all these others that allow for us to gather together, but to be honest, like around what cause? Like, I don't know too many efforts from a community standpoint that last unless you have a mission or a cause that you're going after. And so that's my long answer to your short question about these partnerships, in that I think we have to find a cause. We have to find a common cause. And that doesn't mean that Stoy's cause will always be Dominique's cause. It just means that in order for us to have a fruitful partnership where both of us are being mutually expanded by that partnership, I think we have to have a common cause. And so something I think, for those that want to see this industry move forward around that convergence of financial planning and financial coaching, I think it makes sense for well-established firms that like what we just talked about, and likes let's call it the product or service that financial planning can deliver, the end result for clients. If they like that, they would open their eyes to non-traditional methods to fill the pipeline. So season 6 of my podcast, the whole theme was fixing the talent pipeline in the financial services industry, because I think it's broken and it does need to be fixed. I mean, we can't really expect a majority white firm to have more effect than what they're currently having by reaching multiple layers deep down into society, to even to the have-nots, with just pro bono work. Come on now, really? Right. Like, you have to go to HBCUs or non-traditional circles to recruit people that you can train up and be as talented with their peers in order to start reaching the demographics that you didn't, have access to. That's how that happens. And it has to be a long history of that, because how it is, a lot of us are going to be show me stage, especially in our communities. Like, stick around a little while. Let me see what you're going to do. So these are the type of things, and these things are going to take time. They're going to take, less egos. They're going to take, and we all know we can make a lot of money in this industry. It's going to take less paychecks or less amounts in that paycheck. You have to do some sacrificing in order to make this thing really work. And so, to be honest, those are the kind of partnerships I'm looking for. I'm looking for the type of partnerships that people are looking to satisfy the long game, not just these short wins, not just the stuff that, I know we all talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, which I think is a hot topic, acknowledged. I think it's a needed topic, but I don't want it to be just a fly-by-night topic either. Like, I really want it to be something that people see the benefit of diverse views from their own, and look outside of their own sphere to find solutions to, really hard problems. A lot of these problems are really hard to solve, and we need everybody's brain power in the room.
I agree, wholeheartedly agree. And you bring up the DIY standpoint, and to me, honestly, my feeling of that is just another one of those things. Like, let's push it out, like the NFL's Rooney Rule. Like, let's just do it. It sounds good. It will do some good, but is that the real strategy for forever, right? The long run. And everything we think about it is the long run, because there is such a lack of generational wealth, generational legacy in the Black community and minority community, actually, well, just in all communities, if you will, but specifically ours, that's just not there. And we get so short-minded and focused on the now, and how do I get money now, and how do I look good now, that it dies before it even gets to the point of being alive for the next 20, 30 years. So I think that's a huge deal. And like you said, it's not about the money. It can't be. You're going to make plenty of money. Your family's going to be happy. Life's going to be great. But you're not going to be that CEO that takes in millions if you really want to be a part of this development of changing the course of our history, really. So that's important. So everybody out there, join us, partner with us. Let's come together. Let's have conversations, deep conversations, and not deep conversations just on the side somewhere quiet. Let's be loud. Let's get on podcast. We got podcasts all over the place. We've got social media presence. Let's be loud so people can hear us, and our people can hear us, so we can really, really change that needle.
And let's give credit. There are people out there that are doing the work and partnering, right? So I want to give credit, to, even the CFP Board of Standards. They have several efforts. FPA does, even corporate, from the corporate side. TD Ameritrade and T. Rowe Price. I know they've done a lot of work, and grateful. Absolutely. But I talked to a couple of my friends that are in academia about this. Danny Harvey, Preston Cherry, Ajama Loving, Nandita Das. All these, when it comes to it, it's great to put these programs in HBCUs. Step number one, right? You got to have exposure. Absolutely. Because you don't even know what you can be if you don't even know this. I have a friend, Shel Bernard, who's with Dalton. I forgot their new name that they have now. But anyways, the point is she, before the pandemic, was in a room at a HBCU where more than half the room didn't even know that CFP was a thing. And all these kids look like us. I mean, it's HBCU. So that's a problem. So yes, we do have to have programs inside of HBCUs. Next step, which I have not really seen a lot of efforts on this, but this is the next step. And this is the long game, which is endowments across these HBCUs to start putting academia, qualified professionals in place to teach this stuff. Right. There's, obviously there's a pipeline shortage from, filling up kids to be in these classrooms, but also we got to have professors to teach this stuff. Right. And, it doesn't pay as well as client facing. Right. Let's be honest. Right.
It doesn't. You're right.
So, I think there's a lot of things to be said about what we can do at that level. And to be honest, I think I focus kind of like on the career changer, or at least the first 2 years in the game type of professional with what I do on the consulting side. And there's a lot of meat on the bone right there. But at the end of the day, I think we have to start this thing early, man. The kids have to know that certified financial planner is a real career. It's a profession where you help people achieve their dreams. That's how we should say that on career day if we're doing it at a high school. Hint, hint, for people that have time to do that.
Right.
So, I think those are the type of things that we have to do in order to get that exposure out there. And I think scratching each other's back, I think it makes it easier for Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley or Schwab to write a check because, you see the long game in that. And that, if I write a check, and I give it to this foundation or whatnot, it's not going to be this thing that just kind of fizzles out in a couple of years because this kid decided to change their major. But if they've been listening to this message since they're like 8th grade, that's all they want to know. That's all they want to do. Right. So I think we can compete with, it's not as glamorous, but I think we can compete with the basketball hoop dreams, if you will, if we do this thing the right way. Because this is one of those professions where it's not going away. It's like law, it's like medicine. It's not going away. And we definitely need to do a better job on training up the next generation and cultivating that talent.
Yeah, I love how you brought up basketball. We have to this industry is fun. I have fun every day. I know you have fun every day. Is it stressful? Absolutely. But it's that thing that's going to be there forever, right? I was an athlete. I played at Drake University, played football, and it has an end. And it's devastating to have that end. This career doesn't have an end unless, it's your end. So I think we need to get these young kids to understand that, right? And there's always the athletes that think they are going to go pro that just don't have the talent. And early on, if you can recognize that, you could actually have your niche be where you want to be. And now you're helping those pros that we know all the stories in the world about these pros. Most of them are broke, okay? Yep. Because they don't have this set up correctly. They don't have a person like that. So if you can talk that walk and play a little ball, but know that, hey, I'm not going to do that. I can't make it. And not because of your mentality. It's just physically, right? I'm 5'10", 230. That's not really great for a linebacker, right? I just don't have it. I'm 2 tenths too slow. I understand me, so I'm going to go help that. And I really want young kids to understand that. I try to get into schools. It takes a lot of time. So for those that are in there, pass that message on. Get really deep into that. I think it's amazing for us to speak upon sports and relate it to our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So for a little curveball that was not in any of prep stuff, because this is no BS wealth. We get real. real.
Bring the raw. Bring the ruckus.
Real. All right. So there are not a lot of black people in our industry as CFPs that we know of, right? Percentages show us that. I hear this a lot from other CFPs, other wealth in general, and this is minority across the board, but I'm going to hit on black people right now. Why do black people not want to work with us? Why is it so hard to get established, but also have just Black people want to work with you?
So I'm gonna have to borrow from the great Dr. Myron Golden on this. Wealth is a mindset. It is, I think it can manifest and definitely demonstrate itself in your bank account and in your balance sheet, but it starts with a mindset. And I think depending on your circumstances, because Black or white, US or non, there are poor people
Yep.
around the world.
Absolutely.
And so it's not exclusive to the color of our skin in our zip code in the United States. So you have to look beyond that and say, okay, so what is it then? And I have to believe it's a mindset. So, and a mindset is shaped about perspective. To get into what he teaches about this and what he says about this, it's like, how do I see a situation? Do I see, glass half full, to make it really simple, or do I see glass half empty? And I think that is the reason for, you may see a struggling advisor. Let's just make it really, really plain and take the gloves off. Like you can see, you can hear about this story of a struggling advisor, close your eyes, not know who it is. And you might think they're Black, but they end up being somebody else that you didn't expect. And if you peel the layers back, it's going to be a mindset issue. It's going to be some talk tracks that they need to change, just like those 10-disc CD traders we used to have back in the 90s.
Yep.
I think you have to change those talk tracks, and you have to start telling yourself what is actually true. Now, there's a difference between truth and facts. I think that we get our information, overload in 2022 when we're recording this podcast is tremendous, right? There's something competing for all of our attention. And I think we get inundated with a lot of noise, but distinguishing noise from signal, that's kind of how I would differentiate facts and truth, right? Facts are going to be more like on the noise. There's a lot of facts out there, right? The truth about the matter, right, is that, as a military kid of 3, having a hard time fitting in at some points, I questioned myself. And so therefore, you saw me act out, I'm using air quotes for those that are listening on the podcast, in performance, right? I saw a lot of how I was going to people please and be who I am by performing, getting really good grades, being a star athlete and all this other kind of stuff, because I was caught up in human doing, right? But I wasn't created to be a human doing. I was created to be a human being. So like, who is Dominique? Who is that person? So unpacking this and bringing it all the way back to why do certain financial advisors struggle, and why do they not find clients that look like them, that want to work with them? And I think it has to do with that advisor adopting a mindset that I am qualified to serve who I want, however I want, as long as it's in the best interest, of course, right? That's kind of table stakes, no brainer for me.
Absolutely.
And then the clients, finding those clients that hang out in the areas where that mindset is kind of normal, right? So I think you have to, it's almost like if you're going to go, I'm not a hunter or gatherer type of person, but it's like you use the right bait for whatever you want to catch, right? So if you're looking for a certain type of clients, they hang out in certain places, right? And I think you go there and find that mindset and look for a mindset. I think a lot of people start their businesses maybe niche focused, specifically around like vocation or things that people do. And that's great. But what I've transformed my wealth practice to be more so as a psychographic of person. And I describe it as a person that values their time over money, because ultimately that's what I do. And if you don't do that, I already know we're not going to be a fit.
Right.
It's not going to work. You're not going to trust my advice, and I highly value my time. So I think having that, and this goes back to what I said earlier, story, you have to do that self-work. You have to get vulnerable enough to figure out who you are, to know who you want to serve.
Absolutely. And it's a great ending too, because what I'm going to tie it back to is for me, how I figured all of that out, besides going through injuries and adversities, is reading books, right? Reading a lot of different types of books for me to figure out myself, not just to read it for entertainment. I don't have time for that. I value my time. I don't have time to just read for entertainment. I need to read because I need this to be working correctly. So my advice on people with that is go out, look for some books. You're going to have all the videos and podcasts to listen to. There's a lot of noise and truth into both of those, but the book allows the time for you to digest it all while you're reading it, take your notes and understand, is that me? Is that that person? So go do that and go get Dominique's book. Hit it up. It'll be in the links for sure.
Amen. I will say this, it is a little different. I made it intentionally short on the actual information, because at the end of the day, this is what I was like. There's a lot of information. What I'm saying in this book is probably stuff that you may have heard before. The question becomes is, how does information cause transformation? That was the answer, or the real question, right? And we already know the quality of our answers are, judged by the quality of our questions. So I believe that information causes transformation when you have affirmation and revelation. So you have to start to see things, and to your point, you're reading the books off the page, or they're reading their letters off the page inside this book, and something is getting revealed to you about who you are, how you're showing up, what you're noticing. And then you get the opportunity, especially when you speak the words, there's something totally different. That's a whole nother podcast to unpack that. But then you use the spoken word to affirm who you are. And when you're hearing it over and over again, it's reinforcing, it's almost building you inside. And so that person that you're building inside is the person that's going to eventually show up. Which is why you have to read. You have to have a steady diet of things that are affirming you. So that's what I want for everybody with this, is I want them to be transformed. I just don't want to be giving more information.
I love it. Anything we missed? Anything else you want to say?
You've done it, man. I think this was a great conversation.
I do too. Definitely appreciate your time. I appreciate you being on this series. Appreciate everything that you do. And we're going to highlight it as much as we can and really change the long term. It's a long game.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you, and keep doing what you're doing, man.
All right, brother. You have a good day.
All right, you too.
The preceding program was sponsored by Black Mammoth. Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Black Mammoth. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Black Mammoth website, www.blackmammoth.com. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to effect or attempt to effect transactions and securities, or the rendering of personalized investment advice due to various factors, including changing market conditions. The information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up-to-date, Black Mammoth do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature and is provided for informational purposes only, and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Past performance is not indicative of future results.